I want to ask you something. What would you do if you went to a doctor with a symptom, a real symptom, something your body was telling you was wrong, and the doctor asked you one question, decided the answer was acceptable, and sent you home? No tests, no follow up, just, you're fine. Goodbye. That's what happened to my Greg. And it is part of why we almost ran out of time. When Greg first noticed rectal bleeding, he did what a responsible person does. He made a doctor's appointment. He showed up. He told the doctor what was happening, and the doctor asked him one question: are you having homosexual relations? When Greg said no, that was the end of it. The doctor called it hemorrhoids, told him to come back if it continued, and Greg left. I have thought about that moment more times than I can count. One question, one assumption, one dismissal, and what it cost us. Here is what I need you to understand about 2010. Doctors were not trained to suspect colorectal cancer in adults under 40. Insurance companies actively discouraged colonoscopies unless you were over 55 or had a strong family history of the disease. Greg had neither. He was 36 years old, a lawyer, a former semi-pro football player, and he carried a little extra weight, but he was healthy, and no one was looking for cancer in a man like Greg. The American Cancer Society has called colorectal cancer the third most common cancer diagnosed in both men and women in the United States, excluding skin cancers. For 2025, there were an estimated 154,000 new cases, and nearly 53,000 deaths were expected from the disease. The World Health Organization ranked it as the third most common cancer worldwide, and yet in 2010, early onset colorectal cancer wasn't even part of the clinical vocabulary. It wasn't in the medical playbook, and it lived in the blind spots of training, of policy. It wasn't on anyone's radar. Greg's cancer was already stage 4 by the time anyone found it. I'm sharing these numbers with you not to frighten you, but because Greg's story is not unique, and it should be. In 1995, only 11% of new colorectal cancer cases were in people under 55. By 2019, that figure had risen to 20%. Today, colorectal cancer is one of the fastest growing cancers in younger adults. The CDC reports that nearly 4 in 10 colorectal cancers are found only after the cancer has already spread to nearby lymph nodes, tissues, or organs. About 22% of cases aren't even caught until the disease has traveled to distant parts of the body entirely. At that stage, the stage Greg was at when he finally got the answers he was looking for, the 5-year survival rate drops to roughly 16%. I'm not telling you this to sit in the statistics. I'm telling you this because the statistics have names, and one of those names is Greg Evans. When the first 2 chemotherapy regimens failed, when Greg's CEA levels, the blood marker used to track colon cancer activity, kept climbing instead of falling, I made a decision. I was going to be his wife, and I was also going to be his medical case manager. I called Sloan Kettering in New York, the Mayo Clinic, Emory here in Atlanta, MD Anderson in Houston, and I want you to know this was not easy. Back then, every major hospital required physical records, hundreds of pages that I personally assembled and physically mailed from all of his medical providers. There was no digital transfer, no portal, no streamlined system, no app. I mailed envelopes full of my husband's life, and then I waited. Our days fell into a rhythm: 2-week chemotherapy cycles, infusion days, blood draws, anti-nausea drips. The chemo bag connected to the port, surgically implanted in Greg's chest. Follow-up appointments, then back to the beginning. Listen, I'm a lawyer. I understand documentation. I understand contracts. I thought I understood paperwork. Nothing prepared me for medical billing. At my law firm, there was a benefits coordinator named Leah, and Leah became my lifeline. She taught me how to read an explanation of benefits, how to tell the difference between what was billed and what was actually contracted, how to challenge a denied claim and win. I remember one afternoon she called to check on me. I was sitting at my desk and I had a stack of bills in front of me, major bills. And I genuinely did not know what to pay, what not to pay, or how I was even gonna afford the ones that I legitimately needed to pay. And I broke down. Right there at my desk, I started crying. And Leah said, you know what? Just come across the street to me and bring me the bills. So I took the stack of bills to her, the entire stack. And she sat me down and went through every single bill with me and made phone calls to the insurance company on my behalf. She didn't have to do any of that. She just did it. For every patient navigating a catastrophic illness, there should be a Leah. Someone who sits down next to you, takes that stack out of your hands and says, let me help you with this. Thank you, Leah. I mean that with everything that I have. I want to make sure you see all of it, not just the hard parts, because those years were both the most painful and the most ordinary years of our lives, all at the same time. And that is something no one really tells you about living alongside illness. Life does not stop. It just changes shape. Greg coached Taekwondo when he had the strength. He laughed with the kids. He pulled magic tricks out of nowhere. And even on chemo days, especially on chemo days, he tried to lift everyone's spirits. He was so full of light that way. Even when he was depleted, he was giving. We learned to live between treatments, family dinners, birthday parties, orchestra performances, and band concerts. We showed up for all of it, life in 2-week increments. That was our normal, and I'm so grateful we had it. Years before Greg passed, I sat in the theater watching Hamilton when Eliza sang, "Who lives, who dies, who tells your story?" I cried. The kind of crying you try to hide in a dark theater and can't. And I didn't fully understand why then, but I do now. When Greg passed away, I opened his laptop. We had talked about writing a book together, about his cancer journey, about what we had been through, and I expected to find drafts, notes, something. Instead, I found letters. Letters to me, letters to our children, but not his story. He was too humble to write it. So I will. This is what I need you to hear. Early onset colorectal cancer must stop being treated as a rarity. It is a reality. Screening needs to start earlier, awareness needs to start younger, and physicians need to listen, genuinely listen, when a patient walks in and says, something isn't right. Because sometimes the patient knows before anyone else does. Greg knew. His body was telling him, and for too long, no one listened. I'm telling you his story because he was too humble to tell it himself, and because somewhere out there, there is a person, maybe you, maybe someone you love, who needs to hear it. Get screened. Advocate for yourself. Do not accept a dismissal when your body is telling you otherwise. You are worth fighting for. Greg was worth fighting for. He was the love of my life, the father of my 5 children, and the reason I will never stop speaking up for him, for others, and for hope. You'll always have my heart, Greg. Before I go, I want to leave you with this. You may be someone who is in the middle of a medical fight right now. You may be someone who has simply never thought to ask the hard questions about your own health. Wherever you are, your story matters. Your body matters. Your life matters. Don't wait for someone else to fight for you. Be the person who asks the next question, who makes the next call, who pushes until someone listens. You may feel like you're broken. You may have been broken, but you will not stay broken. You are here, and the fact that you are still here means your story is not finished. Keep walking forward. I'll be right here walking with you. I'm Nadine, and this is Widowed Not Broken. The resources and statistics referenced in this episode are linked in the description below. Thank you.